What's going on, people? Today I've got another topic that I wanted to get into with you guys, the community. I wanted to talk about HRC. It seems to be a hot topic these days. Buh! What do you know about HRC, man? Everything is about HRC. You gotta have the hardest steel, and nobody does heat treatments well. And, man, I don't understand why you like these Chinesium products. Bro, really, can we not have, like, an intelligent conversation about this? Buh, what do you know? You're just a designer. You don't actually, like, make any of these things. You don't work with the tools in your hands. Bro, when was the last time you did anything with your knife other than slice open an envelope? Buh, when I'm paying, like, my $70 for a knife, I gotta have the absolute best cutting edge of the cutting edge. Bro, I get it, right? I don't care how much you spend. If it's $20, $40, $400, nobody wants to invest money in something that underperforms. Buh! HRC is the only thing that matters. Alright, let me get into it and explain to you why. HRC is important, but it's not the only thing. What's going on, everybody? The Real Sharif M here, aka Manganese Steel, and we got an interesting one to talk about today, which is HRC. Man, if you guys have been around in the community long enough, you've seen the topic of HRC come around, and I think the last time that we really dug into this was, I want to say, like 2019-ish, somewhere around there, where HRC was like the big topic and everybody cared about it. Basically, from what I see, there's kind of like two camps of people, okay? On this side, you have people who are like, HRC is super duper important. I really, really super care about it, and I nerd out about the numbers and all of that stuff. And on this side, you have the people who say, I don't really care about HRC. It doesn't affect my life that much, and as far as I use knives, I get them more for aesthetics, the collection, and, I never get into the deeper properties of a knife. I think both sides have their validity, if I'm 100% honest. But I think what really gets lost in this conversation is that it's such a multi-dimensional thing. And what I mean by that is there's kind of like a matrix that comes into play here between the, maker / designer's kind of intention for use, edge geometry, like desired performance, and then finally HRC. My biggest concern as far as HRC is really, if I'm telling you I'm giving you a tool with a specific range of performance vis-a-vis HRC, then I want to be able to guarantee that, and for you guys to know this is what it is, and not to undersell you or oversell you on exactly what I am giving you. Now, for most steels, believe it or not, most steels that we use that are like common use steels, like S30V, S35, VN, S45, VN. I haven't looked too deep into M390's optimal HRC range, but like 14C, 28N, D2, etc., K110, 154 cm, CPM 154, right? Like 58 to, or 59 to 61 HRC is actually a good range. It really is. What's going on, guys? Sharif here, just editing the video, and I realized I left a bit of an important part out that I wanted to include as far as structuring my argument is concerned. I think one of the major things that gets lost in the conversation about HRC is really people forget to think about the very nature of their steels and what their steels are really meant for. Are they biased towards, toughness, edge retention, or corrosion resistance? And that's, I think, a big factor that gets overlooked in the HRC debate, right? So if you have a bias towards corrosion resistance, there are certain steels that are good for that. If you are interested in toughness, there are certain steels that are better for that. What a lot of people are concerned about is edge retention. My perspective has always been, if you're really, really crazy about edge retention, then why are you even fun with any of these other steels? Like, really, you should be looking for steels like S90V, S110V, S125V, 15V, K390. Those are optimal edge retention steels. That's completely what they're designed and built for, right? Why expect something like M390 or S35 or S30 to perform at the edge retention capabilities of a steel that's really meant for that? Let me show you what I mean. Where did I just put it? Ah, here we go. Bam! If you guys haven't seen this, Knife Engineering by Dr. Laren Thomas. Yes, the guy who made Magna Cut. Okay? On page 174, you can see mine. I've got mine all highlighted out here because I actually dig into this stuff. the edge retention of, let's use S30V as an example, okay? It's rated at a 6 out of 10. M390 is rated at a 6.5. That's it. It's literally that much more edge retention. And that's given an optimal heat treat. Now, if you really want to get into crazy edge retention, you'd go with S110V, which is an 8 out of 10. You would go with S90V, which is a 9 out of 10. S125V, that's a 9.5. And if you really want like the absolute maximum, you're looking at 15V, which is a 10, or Maximet, which is a 10, or you go with Rex 121, which is a 10, okay? These are steels that if you really, really have a big deal, like you really care about edge retention, go for those. People think that just because, for example, their M390 is at, let's say, 59 HRC, they're getting bamboozled because they're not getting, super ridiculous edge retention. But the reality is M390, 20 CV, 204P, its edge retention is only marginally better than S30V. And anybody who's really used both steels extensively actually has had that experience. They can attest to that. I can attest to that. The real benefit of M390 is corrosion resistance, and anything over, a 6 on this scale, I've never had a problem with. Yeah, I mean, D2 is rated at 4.5, so we know that at 4.5, you can get, a bit of corrosion, a little bit more easily. What's another common one? CPM, or 154 cm is at a 7. So we know anything rated at 7 or above essentially ensures that we're not going to have any corrosion resistance whatsoever, right? And on that scale, M390 is a 9. Edge retention is not M390's game. And this is where I start talking about the matrix of things, right? For my upcoming knife, the Kaimano here, okay, I opted to go with S35VN. Why is that? Well, because S35VN versus S30V or even M390 only takes a minor hit in terms of edge retention, but offers more toughness. Why did I go for more toughness? Well, for me, I've had, blades chip, edges roll, and this particular knife is meant to be a little bit of a hard user. It's a little bit beefier, but it does have a fairly thin behind the edge geometry because of this deep hollow grind that I put in here. And I want this thing to be durable for hard use. Now, on my calipers, this guy registers at about 15 thousandths behind the edge. For comparison, my Grazioso that I did with KIZER is about 20 thousandths behind the edge. So that should give you an idea of the slicing performance of the Kaimano. It's actually going to be even slicier than the already slicey Grazioso. So I don't mind having a bit more toughness in the edge so that you can really use it. And S35VN is actually very easy to sharpen. It's one of the few blade steels that was designed and intended to be a blade steel. It wasn't already adapted from something else. And it has a good history of performance. Whether you like it or not, that's the reasoning. That's my, sort of meta up here of why I chose it and why I went that direction. And it's also more affordable than M390, and I'm only sacrificing a little bit in terms of edge performance to gain a lot in terms of toughness. Again, going back to the book here, M390 only registers at a 3.5 optimally, at a 3.5 on toughness, whereas S35VN registers as a 5. So, I don't know, guys. I'm very curious about where you guys fall in the spectrum, and really, I don't feel enough people understand the very nature of the steels that they geek out about. I'm sure a lot of you didn't know that M390's real trick is corrosion resistance. And that's what you're paying extra money for, right? It's supposed to be this super steel, but it's super in corrosion resistance, not edge retention. To expect your knife to do something, or your edge to do something that it was not designed to do, I think that's really the problem that I'm trying to address, right? Now, that's just my perspective. So, HRC is important, but I don't think it's as important as a lot of people are making it out to be. And ultimately, if all you're doing is doing some, slicing open, your Amazon packages, cutting down boxes, things like that, in your home, I don't think HRC is going to play a big factor into your life. Now, as I said in the beginning, my concern is I want to tell you what to expect from the knife, and I don't want to lie to you about what it is. And I think that's maybe a bigger issue here within the industry. For me, I'm going to be as transparent as possible as I can with whatever I do. Personally, I just think it's the right move. You manage expectations that way, and you don't get these gotcha moments that sometimes happen in our community. But I'm curious, what do you guys think about this topic? I don't know. This is more of like an informal kind of one-on-one discussion that I'm trying to have here, but you know, it always seems to crop up, and I think a lot of factors get lost in the discussion a lot of times. What's going on, everybody? The real Shri...